Marc Freedman has a purpose. As managing partner and co-founder of Evolved Profits, he and his team have over 40 years of experience in helping businesses free up cash so that it can be reinvested into helping employees, growing the business, and creating positive social impact. He is a serial entrepreneur, CEO, and the best-selling author of Expense to Profit: Eliminate the Costs That Sabotage Your Growth. Marc loves helping companies create more profits while being an agent for change. This is his purpose, and in an effort to help more companies and more people, Marc, along with co-host Yanik Silver, author of Evolved Enterprise, bring you Profits with Purpose, a podcast that aims to do just that. On the show, Marc and Yanik talk to successful corporate decision makers, exploring valuable lessons learned, experiences in growing a company, ways to reduce expenses, and all the ways a company can have a positive social impact. Join us each week and get in on the discussion so we can all have more profits with purpose. And now, here's your host.
Welcome, everyone. This is Yanik Silver, one of the co-hosts of the Profit with Purpose podcast. Really excited. Actually, this is my first interview ever on this podcast that I'm conducting, and I got my friend Richie Kendall here. So I'm super excited, Richie, to have you on as my first guest. So quick bio for Richie: co-founder, CXO of Goodworld, 3X founder, social entrepreneur himself, building a world powered by generosity, collaboration, and compassion, where CSR, influencer, impact, and next generation philanthropy collide. So welcome, Richie.
So glad to be with you, Yanik.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We got a pretty wide range of things that we can talk about. So what I'd love to start with is, what's your definition of purpose? How do you think of purpose?
It's a good question. As a mere mortal, I think purpose can be defined at a personal level. But when I think about the word purpose, you have to think, why do you get up in the morning and do what you do? So it's really the question about the why that motivates your purpose. And to extend that into the business realm, it's why does your business get up in the morning and do what it does?
Yeah, that's interesting because, in Evolved Enterprise, book I read a couple of years ago, I talk about businesses actually do have their own soul. They have their own, and funny enough, or maybe, maybe not, it's like, as it is an entity because it's its own entity with its own tax ID and so on, but it's truly its own entity, and then it has soul, and sometimes as the founder, our purpose is aligned with it, and sometimes it's like, no, the business has this other purpose and so forth. So you've done a lot of things with Goodworld.me. You've been involved in some really amazing profitable aspects, philanthropy aspects, combining that all together. I'll just read off a couple cool ones. Powered the impact for Global Citizen Live and Vax Live events in 2021. Processed $13 million plus in charitable funds to over 3,000 nonprofits. Pioneered 3 groundbreaking philanthropy innovations: roundup donations, hashtag donate, and give cards. So all those are really awesome. How the heck did you get here? Like, what was your why? What is your why still?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think if I were to take it back, I grew up as a young creative person. I was a studio artist, got into digital pretty early. I was taking on clients, doing things like websites and graphic identity and strategy as early as high school. But a pivotal experience is that I lost my dad when I was 6 to cancer. And I think anyone who experiences loss or an event like that in their life so early ends up kind of going down a path. You're asking existential questions during your formative years. And so purpose was always an illumined path for me. I felt that if I could find meaning in my work, in the reason for being here, in the people that I was trying to help and work with, that I would be happy. And that led me to storytelling. It led me to diving into my passions, which were in the creative realm and building things and working with interesting people. And long story short, after an 8-year career in film, directing, producing, writing, editing, I was airlifted into tech and started building the first kind of next-gen philanthropy tech product that enabled people to round up their everyday purchases for causes. and just fell in love with building living and breathing products and building communities around that. That's how I got to where I am today as the chief experience officer of an all-in-one social impact operating system.
Yeah, and you've done some really interesting things with big brands, smaller brands. Where do you think, are companies paying more attention to philanthropy, to purpose, to impact right now? And then if they are, why?
It's driving conversations these days about growth. It's about what we call generating common purpose across a group of internal stakeholders and a group of external stakeholders. So if you were to say that your internal purpose is the priorities, motivations, the why of your leadership, of maybe it's the company's employees, of the brand itself, then the external purpose or the purpose of your external stakeholders might be your consumers, your vendors, your strategic partners, other stakeholders outside of the business. And long-term enduring brands are built on common purpose, bringing together the intrinsic values with the extrinsic values. And we are seeing that is a proven strategy that many of the leading brands today are embracing that full throttle and are actually growing their companies using that philosophy.
Yeah, and do you have any tips on finding that purpose or finding that common purpose and alignment?
The word that just comes to mind that I think the whole conversation should be oriented around is leadership. Not just who's in charge at the organization, but how is leadership acted out? So when you think about leadership, I can kind of come up with three buckets. One is, can we instill a sense of belief? And what I mean by that is values alignment. Can you create values alignment between stakeholders and the organization? Another bucket might be what we would call become, right? A ambitious, aspirational, growth-oriented image. So what can we become together? The third B in that trio is belong. And how can we create a sense of connection in the organization? And how can we build relationships that create a buttress that multiply and amplify power across departments, across people, and across the mission of the organization? So between belief, become, and belong, that represents what true leadership looks like in today's day and age.
That's a good one. Yeah, I haven't heard that before. I like that. Belief, become, belong. Those are really good. How does a company not, I don't know, like phone it in? How does it, I talk a lot about where's the authenticity of it, the integrity of it, where's it come from a genuine place versus like, oh, I see these stats going on that customers want to buy more from companies with purpose and employees, want to work for companies with purpose. Hey, we're going to add purpose to what we do.
Yeah, it's a really relevant question because it's a question that is very topical in our culture writ large. There's a big difference between what we could call virtue signaling and actually doing the hard, gritty work that's required to make change.
Yeah.
So within the context of a company, it's the difference of sort of just writing a press release and saying that you believe in some certain values and actually putting the money where the mouth is, investing in those values, investing in diversifying your workforce, investing in making sure that there is an inclusive sort of sense within the organization. People feel like their voices are being heard and that any other mission related activities have the full support of the leadership in the organization.
Yeah, there's definitely, that saying of walk your talk, and it's pretty easy to greenwash, pinkwash, blue wash, you name it, and put something out, but to really do it, And yet sometimes it's money. And I also think about, business has all these unique leverage points as well. It's the talent within the organization, right? The ideas and the brain power and the talent. It's the supply chain, like who are you buying from that amplifies your values, and your distribution and your voice, and then who are you hiring, like your empowered employee, and who you bring in. So there's all these other spots. So a company doesn't have to say, oh, well, we don't have any money to spend for this, but so we can't do it. But there's lots of different ways of thinking about it. What's an example, of a client that you've worked with that you're like, wow, this is, they took it on and they had even better results than you might have even imagined, that you helped them get that?
Well, one example, just because it's super recent and it's a fun concept, is I'll call out Leica, sort of growth stage company, working in compliance, SaaS business. At the end of the year, the holidays came around, and instead of just putting out a happy holidays email to their customers to remind them that they're happy to be working together, or that they'd love to continue business, they put $100 in the hands of every one of their customers, and the $100 could be redeemed at a cause of the customer's choice. So it wasn't just, hey, we've made a donation on your behalf, great doing business with you. It's, we believe in what you believe in. Here's money. Go find a local charity, go find a cause that you care about, and give it. And what that does is it really deepens the relationship between the company and its customers, because it's not asking for anything. It's not saying, hey, look at me. It's just giving you positive power. And whenever you give positive power to someone, even in your personal relationships, without an expectation, that giving for re-giving momentum creates trust, and it creates a sense of, hey, we are in this together, and there's a higher purpose for us working together. And I just use that example because it's relevant, and we're seeing a lot more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love examples, right? Because then people can be like, oh yeah, we could do that and apply that. And the $100, you're going to spend probably at least that on a good thank you gift or something like that. And it might get thrown out, it might get used, might not. But $100 saying we believe in what you believe in, or we want to help support what you support, has a really powerful message there. Do you have any stats on, and this might be anecdotal, but what that did for the company, or how much of that $100 was used, or just anything about, what the application might have been afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a good question, because this gets into some of our own technology philosophy, which is pretty interesting. That goes beyond just giving for re-giving, or sort of altruism. So in terms of that campaign, while I won't kind of disclose the exact redemption rates or anything like that, the email response we got from Leica was that this was one of the most popular things they've ever done with their customers.
That's awesome.
We've heard from similar companies that they've run campaigns where they've offered charitable dollars to their customers to get reviews on review sites like G2 and Gartner and things like that. Compared to what they used to do, like Amazon gift cards as a reward, overwhelming positive feedback. Direct personal emails saying, this was the coolest thing I've ever received from a vendor, or the most meaningful thing. Now, in terms of the actual numbers, I'll just say that what's really powerful about this isn't just the gift. It's actually that it encourages more giving, that kind of pay it forward effect. So if I receive money from you, Yanik, I'm exponentially more likely to give to someone else, because I want to pay that forward. And what happens in a charitable gift card campaign is that a company can make an investment of, let's say, $10,000 in charitable donations. And by cutting it up into tiny pieces and spreading it across a community of people where you donate through an audience, you actually multiply the original investment, because more people are touching the money, kind of coming to the causes, and then chipping in on top.
And I know you have interesting tech too, where the companies could match it or they could amplify it in other ways or amplify their employees' giving. You want to talk about that for a moment too, like how to almost like gamify it or accelerate it?
Absolutely. In today's world, user experiences, the expectations of high-end, high-touch user experiences is astronomical. My generation as a millennial, we can smell a outdated technology. We're not going to complete an online form if it's going to take more than 10 seconds. And so to complete a donation on a charitable website has even become quite a barrier to entry. So that's why peer-to-peer payments, tap and register, one-click transactions. These are all becoming so popular because we want it to be very easy and seamless and rewarding to be a part of the new economy. Now, we are taking all the greatest learnings of social sciences, everything we've learned about philanthropic giving and sort of digital online advocacy and activity, and we're packaging it into one flywheel technology so that when an individual wants to send, let's say, a gift card to someone and offer a matching gift, that will maybe increase the chance that that person will give by two to five times. And that's just a part of how we're building our technology.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And then the number of charities that are I don't know, powered by you or that are part of that. So if I get my $100 gift card or charity card, how many charities can I connect to?
Yeah, what's cool about how we've architected the solution is companies, brands, influencers get to control the realm of beneficiaries on a thematic basis. So, for example, if for Giving Tuesday, an employer wanted to give $15 to each of their employees to redeem at a cause, they might enable all 1.5 million US based charities in good standing as potential beneficiaries of those dollars because it's Giving Tuesday. But for Earth Month, maybe it only makes sense to include conservation organizations, organizations that plant trees, remove plastic from the ocean, remove carbon from the atmosphere. So you could just select only conservation sustainability nonprofits for that campaign and run a green thumb campaign.
Yeah, that's really interesting too, because that always comes into the question that I get asked a lot about, how do you choose your cause or the purpose and so forth. And so my answer has always been around, usually because I work with founders and entrepreneurs, it's like, okay, what do you care about? And, how does that show up? Or what do your customers care about the most? And then allow that to be empowered. So in this way, it could be everything. It could be, we stand for entrepreneurship. So we're going to thematically apply your $100 or whatever to, organizations that empower entrepreneurs. And now you're fulfilling on your mission and you're getting customers in this case, or it could be employees, it could be anyone that you care about to really help accelerate that for you.
And that's really powerful because then when impact investing comes into the conversation, when large influencers with high reach come into the conversation, they want to make a splash or difference in a different cause area, like let's say education, or
Yeah.
something even more niche, like sort of equity, equity inside industry. They could run a campaign that is all about empowering minority women in different fields, from an organization like Girls Who Code to an organization like the Lonely Entrepreneur or Start Small, Think Big. So you can really niche it down, and then by giving money out through your audience, understand the philanthropic DNA of the audience, and even find charitable partners based on that.
Yeah, I love that. Now, you talked about brand lift. So this is part of it. How integrated is this into, is it part of marketing? Is it part of their CSR program? And, bigger companies have CSR, smaller ones don't even probably know what that is necessarily, but, part of their giving and like, where does this fit? And then how do you bring the conversation all together in a way that's cohesive and fits the company's goals?
Well, that's somewhat of a tension inside our business, but it's such a beautiful idea because the domain of the human heart is expansive, it's infinite. So the domain of the heart of a brand is also infinite. There is no reason why social impact can't be a part of your culture building, your morale building, your passion and profitability building within the business. And then same goes for your marketing. I mean, you could run a campaign where you are acquiring new users by converting your marketing dollars that you would have normally spent, let's say, on Facebook ads, and instead spend that money charitably in a way that invites people at a super high engagement rate to come in, choose a cause, come back to your website, see what your new offerings are. So it's a really great way to just invite people back to the proverbial store.
Yeah, I remember one time we had brought into one of our Maverick events. He was one of the co-founders for a group called Sevenly. It was a T-shirt company that they've changed their model quite a bit now. He's not part of it anymore, but for 7 days they would run a campaign, and it was just this one design, but they had 7 different charities or big broad charity categories they would give to. And he told us this amazing stat, and I'd love to hear some of your numbers if you got them. But it was something like 70 or 80% of new customers came from social shares. So they were using, instead of that customer acquisition like you're talking about, it was, hey, we're going to use this because they donate $7 from every T-shirt sale to that cause. And so they had a much bigger donation impact side, but that actually amplified and had customers being like, yeah, look what I did. Essentially, it was using virtue signaling, but in a positive way, and it changed the identity of the people who bought, and then it created more new customers because of it at a really reduced price. So I don't know. I'd love to hear if you got any interesting stats on that part, or just anything that has really leaped out at you, being like, let's look at those.
Yeah, a light bulb went off for me when I realized that we could use social impact as an acquisition strategy. And what we found was that, well, let's just put it in context. When you send out an email as a brand, you are lucky to get an open rate that's higher than 30%.
Sure.
You're lucky to get a click rate that is above 5%. With gift cards, which are charitable gift cards, when you send them out, we see a redemption rate that is almost at 50% within 1 month. So what that's saying is that not only are you getting someone to open the email, read the content, click on the redeemable card, but you're also getting them to take the action of clicking a button, going to choose a charity, putting in their email address at your branded site. So that's like a 5 to 10x acquisition increase. And you can get their data so you know who donated or who redeemed the card. But not just that, you understand now what they care about.
Yeah, and that's huge.
Beyond that, we have over 60% of people who redeem the cards chip in along the way. So now you're getting a return on your investment. And then if you include like a matching component, you could increase your original investment to up to 120%. So we're just now starting to see the real true analytics of these experiences, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, no, that's super exciting, and I'm sure you've been testing whether it's subject lines or copy that goes in there. So you guys have helped optimize that process. So yeah, anyone should definitely connect with you about that. Any other pieces that are really interesting and exciting to you right now that you're seeing working?
Yeah, I feel like, well, I might just point out that we have a couple of tools that we innovated that in tandem with this gift card philosophy are pretty cutting edge and kind of an exciting prospect for next gen philanthropy in general. So I'll kind of sketch this out.
Yeah.
We created a technology, we're the inventors of technology called #donate. Hashtag donate lets an individual type hashtag donate into a comment field on social media. By simply doing that, you can create an instant donation. So instead of needing to click a button, go to a website, put in all of your information, get out your credit card, this will let you stay in app, in Twitter, in Facebook. Just type hashtag donate into a comment, and that will create an instant donation.
To a particular cause, or to how does that operate?
Yes. So our platform enables a cause to have superpowers on their page. So if Girls Who Code comes to us and they connect themselves, their Facebook page to Goodworld, that gives their Facebook page superpowers, or their Twitter channel superpowers. Now anybody who types hashtag donate into the comments can make this instant donation. And then whenever they type hashtag donate moving forward, it's an instant draw from their account. So hashtag donate $20, instant draw from their account.
But how does it go to Girls Who Code or versus, whatever, this ocean charity or?
Because it's on the page of Girls Who Code.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
And then
okay.
we also do it for influencers. So an influencer can choose a cause, enable their page, so that if they do a post, anyone who types hashtag donate in their comments, it's going to go to the charity that they connected to.
Yeah, that's cool. So reducing the friction, reducing the just creating massive amount of ease of making this happen.
Yeah.
So basically I have a piggy bank, and once that piggy bank is diminished, then is that done? Is that the way it would work?
Actually, this is an option where a consumer just types hashtag donate. The first time that they do it, there's an automatic response comment that asks them to just put in their payment details. Once we have the payment details, whenever they type hashtag donate moving forward, it's an instant draw. So it's just like a direct debit.
Got it.
But when you pair that with this gift cards concept, we will get it to the point where a influencer, let's say a LeBron James, can just post a pile of impact money at a link and just post it on social, so that the first people to get to that money can each redeem their money at a cause. And all they might have to do is type hashtag donate and then choose the cause.
Yeah, that's cool. And then they can decide if they want to accelerate it in some way or match it or amplify it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. Very cool. What else has really been interesting or exciting for you that you've been seeing working?
Let's see. We power Mastercard's global donations platform. They do a lot of work in conservation, sustainability, have brought in a lot of international brands into those types of projects. They have a program called Priceless Planet Coalition to plant something like, I think it's 30 million trees by 2030. I don't want to get that wrong, but what they're doing is they're just sending trees to people. They're just dedicating trees to their employees as a thank you gift, as a holiday gift. They're giving away trees online to people on TikTok through a partnership with the MLB that lets people dedicate trees to other folks. And what that does is it creates this kind of like viral reforestation of the world. And as you know, planting trees is one of the most effective, if not the most effective way to combat climate change at this point. That the more trees we plant, the better off we are.
Yeah, so that comes into, as you said, employees. So they're getting their employees engaged, and they obviously have a whole lot of employees, and it's, a lot of companies are thinking about what are their employee engagement strategies, and we know about this great resignation that's taken place, and so this is for sure is part of that process of how do you bring your full heart to what you're doing at work. Any thoughts on that or the culture piece? I don't think we've hit on that yet.
Yeah, I mean, culture is there's no magic bullet for culture. This comes back to our original point about leadership and those 3 B's we talked about, belief, become, and belong. And unless a company is ready to invest in those 3 prongs, in meaningful ways and not just change their policy or their culture documents, and actually takes tools like Goodworld to invest in values, to build a sense of belonging or a sense of creating values alignment, then it is just words.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say that our technology can solve all three of those areas, because those are holistic realms in and of themselves and require everything from how to be a vulnerable leader in how you work with people on a day-to-day basis to just thought leadership, overall, overall philosophy, to how do you source your supply chain? What kind of vendors do you work with? How do you create diverse vendors, diverse workforce, so that there's more than just sort of one identity in the room making calls?
Yeah.
So it's an overwhelming discussion, but social impact is one way to drive that change.
Yeah, and it's part of it. Like I know that I've seen stats where significant number of employees, team members want to work for a company that has purpose and impact, and in some cases would even get paid less because they know they're making a difference. So it's there's a dramatic part when it's done with alignment, when it's done with integrity, and not just let's check off the box.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the numbers just off the top of my head, 83% of millennials report higher loyalty to companies that help them support social issues. That's an overwhelming number. There's a 17% increase in productivity that's reported by businesses with engaged employees, a 21% higher profitability reported by businesses with engaged employees.
Yeah.
Something like 70% of Americans believe that it's important for companies to be making the world a better place. So at this point, the modern consumer is expecting it.
Yeah, and I think it's going to become par for the course really soon, where it just becomes those table stakes of that you're thinking about purpose, you're doing that, and then it's I talk about moving from a transactional company to a transformational, to even transcending what business can be. And so if we can move out of being transactional, then we move into this transformational space where literally the identity of anyone who comes into contact with our business is transformed. It's super powerful. And you have that brand loyalty, you have the increased profitability, like you talked about, like everything works.
Yeah, in many ways, you've just described this process of brands becoming more human. And we often think about it as, humans are becoming more like brands as well, which has its own interesting
Uh-huh.
connotation. But there's a convergence happening, that what you signal into the world, if you're an organization or a person, actually has a resonant frequency. And depending on that frequency, that will attract, retain, and deepen the relationships, the actions, and your overall impact. So I love the way you put that.
Yeah, and what I've also seen is some companies are reluctant to do this stuff because they're like, well, what if we get it wrong, or what if we get backlash because now we're doing this, and now we're going to get more scrutiny because we're trying to whatever plant more trees or whatever the case is, and then someone looks at our supply chain and we're like, well, you guys are wasting whatever. And I found that companies that do this and have really engaged conversations are actually they have more forgiveness by customers when they're really engaged in this way, because people will call you out, and if you're willing to look at things and make those changes, then you have an opportunity to keep evolving and keep growing in that way. And otherwise you will be just irrelevant.
Overthinking this is a symptom of a lack of leadership. Leadership is leading with heart. It's leading with values. If you are thinking, what will be the backlash of me leading with my heart, you're doing it wrong. You need to boldly move forward with your values, with your stakeholder values. And if that creates tension or that creates conflict in your space, then all you need to do is to deal with the conflict and the tension with courage.
Yeah.
And this just reminds me of of, it's someone who never leaves the house because they fear what will happen. You have to go outside and you have to get dirty and you deal with the consequences and you grow from there. This reminds me of what just recently happened, if we're going to sort of loop in the news with Spotify and Joe Rogan. When an entire sector is trying to cancel someone who now has sort of a new platform in Spotify, how does that brand deal with that conflict? Well, Spotify could have just rolled over, canceled Joe Rogan and said, that sort of too much damage. This is too much backlash. But instead, what they did is they invested their losses in minority voices. They dedicated a huge amount of money, millions and millions of dollars. It's in the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in platforming minority voices. That to me is like an Aikido move. If you're familiar with martial arts, you're transferring combative energy and you're transforming it into positive outcomes. And you can take a raw situation and you can take conflict and bad energy and you can actually convert it, because it has power, into more meaningful, growth-oriented energy. I was proud to see them do that. And I think you'll see a lot of other leading platforms and brands making similar moves just because of the thought leadership there.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting example. Thanks for that, Richie. All right, where can people find out about you and Goodworld and what you offer there?
Goodworldnow.com is the best place. You can obviously connect with me directly on all of the social platforms. LinkedIn is a good one. I will respond if you come in earnest with questions about how to build purpose-driven brands, or you have questions about how to make a difference. That's what I'm here to do. So no question is too small in that category.
Yeah, and you've obviously worked with really big brands, but are you also working with smaller companies as well?
Yeah, I would say, our sweet spot is that sort of middle market, the small, medium-sized enterprises who want to get experimental with their social impact, even if they don't have big charitable budgets, but they want to engage their teams, their customers in higher purpose. Anywhere, but if you've got over 15 employees, we're happy to have a conversation and let you leverage our tools.
Great. Yeah, I love it. And we've been using your tools. We've integrated into one of our things for companies that have over, that same number, that 10, 15 plus employees in this new evolved ERC program. And that's been really a great add-on because it adds in our impact goals, which are helping companies when they're retaining employees. And now we provide them with that impact gift card, and it's a perfect tie-in. So it works really, really well. So there's a lot of creative ways of working with Goodworld. And I definitely would suggest coming to you and connecting and seeing what can work and using your amazing expertise there.
Well, thanks so much for the conversation, Yanik. It's always a pleasure. Love teaming up with you and making mischief for good. So
yeah, there you go. All right, Richie, thanks so much. Take care.
All right. See ya.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Profits with Purpose. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you are interested in reducing the expenses of your business, creating positive social impact, or contributing to the show, reach out to Marc or Yanik with Evolved Profits by emailing podcast@evolvedprofits.com or visiting the website www.evolvedprofits.com.